Hello, what is up, my friends and fellow anti-netters? It is Scott Shepard coming to you on a Thursday at 4:26 post meridium. What I want to talk to you today is about something a lot of people suffer with, and that is the decision on what to actually write about or what topic to choose for their dissertation or for their book or for their, thesis. And, specifically as it pertains to, those that do analog knowledge development and use the anti-net and use the Zettelkasten, a lot of people, see it as this like shiny new promising thing and something to allow them to just learn constantly and then somehow magically unearth like a book or a thesis or something like that without actually having kind of in mind a topic for their book or topic or for their thesis or dissertation. So what I want to talk about is the concept of, of wandering. And we're going to get into that in a second. But first, let me tell you a story of what happened recently. I was talking to someone, and I first spoke with them about, a month or two ago, and they were struggling with actually figuring out what to focus on in their next chapter, of life, and, trying to figure out, okay, with all the different books that they're reading and all the different books that they're reading and then creating bib notes for on, the Lumen bib card and then creating main notes for, they were there. It was all kind of random and just not coming together, and they were just suffering. It's like, 1 week they're like super stoked on a new book and reading it and developing knowledge for it. And the next week they're like, what the hell? Like, why did I even, invest all of this work? Like, where am I actually going? And, when I spoke to this person, and it's not who you think it is. So if Lane, if you're watching, I'm not talking about you. It's chances are if you're watching this right now, it's not about you who I'm talking about. And but when I spoke with them a month or so ago, I felt them and felt their pain. They were like clearly suffering, and they're like, like, where do I go? Like, I'm like really at this point in like where I'm going from book to book and just chasing different fascinations, and I have no kind of destination. And at that time, I think I wanted to give them a like kind of help them sleep at night. So I pulled out of my hat the old J.R.R. Tolkien quote that not all who wander are lost. And the comfort I gave them was like, hey, just take some time to like, to wander and to wander through, your different books and your different research areas, and just chase your fascination. Well, the problem is that I recently spoke with the same person, and it was almost as if that did give them a sense of relief. And hey, it's like, okay, cool, I don't have to actually worry about figuring out how to actually turn what I read and my different fascinations, different fascinating books into actual useful output or useful contribution to the world. And, it made me pause because, when I was saying that and kind of using the quote, not all who wander are lost, the context and the goal, at least that I had in mind, was something wholly different than I think how they interpreted it. And what we're going to talk about in this video is something that I'll introduce you to very shortly. So it's like, not all who wander are lost, or really are they? Are those people that do aimless wandering, are they lost? And I contend that yes. You do not want to just set about and do aimless wandering. And it's funny. It's like, if you look at this image that I used, this is from, Lord of the Rings, right? And they're on a quest. They're not just aimlessly wandering. They have a certain, area that they've mapped out as their next step. And sure, they don't have everything figured out, but they are not just aimlessly wandering. They are going to the one phase, the next phase in their journey, and adjusting and learning from there, and then going to the next phase. They're going to one forest, essentially, like the forest of the Ents or the one with Galadriel in it. They are adjusting and learning, and then they are going to the next forest. So we'll get into this type of wandering in a second, but first let's talk about what we're actually talking about. So what we're actually talking about is something in the corporate world and in the strategy world has been called exploration versus exploitation. And what this entails, and I think I heard this within the context of Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos was describing Amazon as a company versus Microsoft as a company. And Bezos described Amazon as an exploration company where they innovate. They are all about experimentation, and they're all about like exploring some uncharted territory. And then he said this is opposed to Microsoft, wherein Microsoft is an exploitation company. Microsoft has essentially identifies markets, and then identifies the competitors in the market, and then they exploit that market for all of its riches. They try to put the competitors out of business, and they essentially try to compete in that market and hit quarterly revenue goals, make revenue forecasts, hit those revenue forecasts, and play that game. So essentially the duality that Jeff Bezos brought up and brought into frame was, okay, exploration is good, exploitation bad. And by the way, I should also say that Microsoft has done a heck of a job turning things around, and they're not just seen as this corporate exploitation machine anymore. And I think they've, in recent, in the last 5 years, completely done a U-turn in terms of their, corporate reputation and everything on that front. Like their latest CEO has been awesome. So anyways, let me provide a nice little disclaimer. So I think that the exploitation of Microsoft being an exploitation machine has kind of run its course. It's not really true anymore in this day and age. Anyway, let's talk about exploration. Exploration equals wandering, discovery, and experimentation. This is kind of introduces something that Brené Brown calls grounded theory research, where you essentially let your research dictate the answers to you and just explore and go wherever your research takes you. It's an emergent process. So this is something that instead of coming up with a hypothesis and then looking for literature and evidence to support the hypothesis, you essentially go into this forest of research and let that research and the data tell you a story and paint a story that you couldn't otherwise have, foreseen or crafted. Okay, so this is kind of the whole exploration component. And so the question is the Zettelkasten kind of gets the reputation of like, oh, this is where Zettelkasten shines. It's the whole bottom up. It's like you use like your research in the bottom up to create like some fascinating discoveries. And a lot of the bubble graph boys and the people that use note linking tools get obsessed with this whole idea of, oh my God, we're gonna just let our notes dictate to us like some freaking amazing thesis, blah, 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 and it's like, that's like the new cool thing these days. It's like this good and bad moralistic duality, whereas, exploration is amazing and that's good. And like, wiki links in my like Obsidian note-taking software, blah, 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 like enables me to do this. And then like exploitation and having an actual target is bad. That's not actually the case. Okay. So it's a little bit more complicated than that. So exploitation, let's talk about that. Exploitation equals having a target, having a goal, and exploiting it to the best of one's ability. And the truth of the matter is that Luhmann really was more on the exploitation front than on the exploration front. Luhmann always had a target. He always had a goal. His second Zettelkasten, the entire thing was one freaking big goal. It was in support of his 30-year theory of everything as it relates to society. And the other thing to note is that if you look at, in his 30-year span and the number of his Lumen's research papers, published, on average, he averaged about 1 to 2 research papers per month. And how it would work is like different journals would solicit, different topics or different things that they would want covered, and Lumen would answer the request for proposal or whatever it was, and take on that research paper publication project, and he'd take on about like 1 to 2 per month. So he was always working on an explicit target, always had an explicit goal, an explicit topic to essentially choose from. Okay, so what we're talking about is like, how do you actually determine and find a topic for your next book or for your research dissertation or for your research paper? Do you go the exploration route and just let your fascination and the kind of general research and your reading kind of dictate your overall thesis and your overall topic? Or do you have a predetermined kind of topic in mind, that you then, read literature and write about and form the material for? And so what is the correct answer here? As usual, I think the most correct and right answers are usually a mix of both. It's complicated. It's a paradox. It's essentially, what Lumen did was he essentially focused on having a target or a goal, a topic, which then, after he went and dove into that topic, then that would essentially create more leaves in his own Zettelkasten to create more material for his 30-year theory of everything. The correct answer is essentially mapping out forests to wander through. So you want to have like different forests in different areas and of which you want to wander through. You don't want to just aimlessly wander through any forest you encounter. You want to map out and have certain forests, certain forests with certain topics that fascinate you, certain topics that you have like a predetermined skill set with and expertise in, and essentially different types of forests that you want to map out. And I call this deliberate wandering. Like, you want to map out different types of forests. And there's a formula, and the reason I've decided to actually create and use this presentation and show this to you is because I just got done recording a training, and it was like almost, I don't know, like it was like 45 minutes long, going deep into this. And there's like this formula that you can essentially use to help you get, I've been talking in very abstract terms in abstract land, but there's a formula you can use and a process that you can use to actually help you map out these different forests. And the different forests are, things that ascribe to certain variables relating to like things that you're fascinated with. And this is something that Umberto Eco talks about too. Umberto Eco's whole answer to how do you actually choose a topic for your dissertation, your PhD, he's like, just choose something that you have expertise in. And that's a way too simplistic answer. There's an actual formula, and there's something that you can actually follow in a process to actually uncover the correct answer. The correct answer, again, is paradoxical. It is both, you want to both unlock and partake in emergent research and exploratory research and exploratory kind of like reading, but you also want to have like a predetermined preset goal and a target. And this is something I talk about. I'll finally reveal it to the public of what it's at least called. But if you're on my mailing list, you know that in the past few emails, I've hinted at something, a top secret program, and I've said it top secret tongue in cheek because like, why would it be top secret if I'm freaking emailing my people about it? And it's like, a tongue-in-cheek top secret. And someone replied to me and was joking with me about it. He's like, I love you, man, but it's hilarious how we're like talking about top secret. You're emailing, about this top secret thing to everyone in your entire email list? Well, the thing I'm talking about is something I call the Neo-Intellectual Institute. Okay, and it's this concept that you've seen me talk about in my emails. It's about creating the neo-intellectual life. And what I'm hinting at or getting at, this whole thing is not some freaking dumb group course or cohort course or whatever whatever is popular these days, which is launching like a 5-week group course. The Neo-Intellectual Institute is a super private, not open to public. It's just it's something that I don't even really like talk about or hype up even in my email list, but it's for people that I want to work one-on-one with and transform their lives and help them create the neo-intellectual life. And that is essentially, how do I help people do what I do all day, which is just have a blast pursuing my passions, reading, thinking, writing, developing knowledge all day, and then also making a comfortable living doing it. And so the Neo-Intellectual Institute essentially pertains to helping people become actual writing machines. Of course, the anti-net is involved, but that's like just the basic stuff. Like all the people that have been following me here, the anti-net, go learn how to do the anti-net and set up an analog Zettelkasten on my YouTube channel. It's all free. It's all out there. But what I'm really focused on, really want to help people do, is really the end goal, the destination, which is how do you actually become a writing machine? How do you choose the topics correctly that we've just touched upon? And how do you actually then, going along with that, how do you actually serve people that you want to serve? How do you create a community, a tribe of people that you actually value so that you can actually deliver value to the people that you value? And then you can make a comfortable living doing what you actually want to do all day, reading, learning, writing, and developing knowledge. It's essentially what I do. So anyway, I've decided to launch this program, which is kind of, seemingly counterintuitive, because people would think that I would launch a program or a group course about, the anti-net or something. And it's like, no, that's just one component, one tool. It's an amazing tool. It's the best tool out there, I contend, for developing the mind and thinking and reading. But it's just one tool to get to where a lot of people really want to get to, and a lot of people really want to go. And where is that? People really want to build out the neo-intellectual life. They don't want to essentially work for big academic institutions and, be other reliant. They want to be self-reliant. And there's a way to do that. And especially in this day and age, in the digital age, where you can build out an audience, a community, and people to help encourage you along the way. And that's essentially what I've done. And now really I'm on a mission to helping people that I value create the same type of life that I have, that I do all day. So anyway, it's that's essentially, this is, what I've just taught you in this video is a small snippet of what I've actually created for one of my neo-intellectuals that I am, essentially helping out and working with one-on-one. And I'm keeping this super, super, super small. So anyway, that is essentially where this material is coming from. Again, this is closed to the public. I'll be taking on applications like here and there at various points, but I'm not even going to provide you a link or anything right now. If you want to learn more and keep up with my journey, of course, you know where to go. I've blasted in every single one of these descriptions. Sign up to my email list at scottshepper.com, and it's in the description, the link. So anyway, I hope this content at least helped you and helped get your mind churning around the idea of exploration versus exploitation, and how it's not as simple as just, oh, you should just, go wherever your research shows you. It's like you want to actually enact and implement something I call deliberate wandering. And I'm not going to get into that because that's really for my neo-intellectuals, right? But I think this will at least help you start to think about how to actually develop a topic for your book. And I think it'll also help you not avoid the trap of just getting stuck in complete aimless wandering. That is the goal. That is it. I have spoken. Good day, my fellow anti-netters, and peace and love, and talk to you later. Bye-bye now.